It's Wednesday. Everybody loves Wednesday. Today's episode is about something that I am personally passionate about. Today it's also very rainy out here in Waterloo, and we actually just finished filming something for the food show. We run this food show, this local, I guess like it's micro niche. The fact that this Kitchener Waterloo Ontario food show exists. My buddy Nick Bettinger and I, pretty much like every August, I would say, we get a little bit stir crazy with just how busy everything is. And this specific last August, I decided that I wanted to do a food show. So I contacted Nick. He owns a bunch of restaurants in town here. And I was like, Nick, there's a lot of construction on King Street. Do you want to set up a dinner party in the center of the King Street construction? He said yes. We filmed that, and then we decided that, like, just from the response that the community gave it, we realized that there is the ability to create a food show that will go over well here, that will get shared, and we'll get his restaurants out in the world and him as a personality, which is important to him, being kind of like the face, I guess, of all of the restaurants that are part of his restaurant group. And then for me, I'm always subtitled as a wedding photographer, and a lot of people at weddings now recognize me from the show, which is kind of funny, as well as a lot of the moms. Our market seems to be like everyone's mom loves the food show for some reason, and I don't know what it is, but that market specifically has responded really well to it. So a lot of the brides and grooms' moms that I shoot are also super aware of me, or it's even been, I'm going to say like maybe 10 or 15 times now that the moms or that the couple has just found out about me through this food show, which is also, I guess, like super beneficial to me. The food show, it makes enough money to survive. It's not like super profitable or anything, but the exposure that it gives us, and personally, I just enjoy being able to just email any restaurant and go behind the scenes in the kitchen with the chef and cook the things that they like to cook, and just have more access, because I don't know a whole lot about food. I know that I like watching shows like Ugly Delicious on Netflix, but I don't really know nearly as much about food as Nick does. So it's been interesting to learn more over the past little bit. So maybe that's a pre-message, or I guess that actually fits the scope of this episode. So this episode is about lifestyle design, and lifestyle design is incredibly important to me. I would say that it is the reason that I'm specifically a wedding photographer, for sure. And also really the reason that I'm a photographer. So when I first was working a 9-to-5 and working at Outback Steakhouse, I was doing two jobs at once. I knew that 9-to-5 lifestyle in my co-op term, my first co-op term, I knew that was not something that was going to make me happy. I knew that working 40 hours a week for somebody else, I could very much see the fact that if I'm working for somebody else, I'm never really going to get ahead, that maybe I'm going to get that 5% raise, or maybe I'm going to leave this company and start at another company and make an extra $10,000 a year. But I would way rather be in control of my finances, as well as the fact that, like, at any moment, I don't feel safe. I would never feel safe working for somebody else in 9-to-5, because at any moment, like, that company could downsize, that company could move, which actually happened to one of my co-ops. A lot of different things can happen to you that when it's outside of your control. The scary part about running your own business is the fact that you have no one to blame. So actually my buddy Michael kind of said this in an interview that I don't know if I've put up yet. It will be part of a future show on YouTube. But basically he was saying that when you work for somebody else, the peaks and valleys are kind of clipped. So you're working, like, some days are good, some days are bad, but some days are never like you just raised like $80 million in funding day, or the opposite, where like you're going through some struggles and you don't know how to pay your employees. So those struggles and those, like, just the peaks and valleys, I think, are what really make my life exciting as an entrepreneur. And I want to experience those, and working for somebody else, I would not get to experience those. It would just be more of, I guess, like a mundane existence, I guess. I've also I think there's this addiction that you can form to, like, peak experiences, and I feel like that is something that I am passionate about doing, that I really do want to work really hard to generate a peak experience in order to, and I don't know, you're in control of that when you're working for your own company. When you're working for somebody else, somebody just has a little bit too much control over your life. So for photography, I knew that I wanted to run a business. I didn't really know what that business was, and I was kind of just looking around. I was already into photography through music and bands. I knew that there was not really a future in that if I could keep doing it, it was fun, it was great. But at some point, my friends would probably stop being in bands. And at some point, I I didn't want to be like the 45-year-old guy going to like punk rock shows in like basements and at like people's house parties. So I kind of knew that I wanted to do my own thing. I didn't know where that was. I knew that a few of my friends from that music scene were starting to get married, and I knew that that was a potential pathway and avenue that I could, that I was just kind of at the right place at the right time. The other good part was that I was in a place that I didn't really have too many expenses, that I was just getting out of school, and I wasn't in debt, and I wasn't like rolling in money by any means, but I had enough and I knew how to live lean, and it was just myself and not even a car. My car was paid off. So it was a good time to just kind of go all in on photography. So I decided on wedding photography specifically because I could see the immediate upside to that. As I talked about in a podcast last week, the fact that that it is an oversaturated industry, it shows that there is possibility to exist in that industry. Whereas I didn't really see a whole lot of commercial photographers making a really, really great living around this area. I also knew that just my experiences with commercial photography, it seems like you had to work a lot more hours, whereas weddings were a little more structured, but with maximum amount of free time. So you had to be there on Saturdays, but then that like Sunday to Thursday or Sunday to Friday, I guess, is pretty much like your flex time that you can edit whenever you want. If you want to edit at 3 a.m, you can. If you want to edit at like 10 a.m, if you work better in the morning, you can do that. So I really like that. I also knew that the big upside of that and becoming successful as a wedding photographer would have meant unlocking those days so I could travel as well. I was fortunate enough to be kind of at the tail end of the job that I was doing. I actually got hired because of a job that I did in Las Vegas by another company in Las Vegas. And that really kind of accelerated how much I was traveling, and it got me on planes a lot, and it was paid for by somebody else, which was awesome. But I also collected all of the Aeroplan miles, which is Air Canada's status program or rewards program. And with those Aeroplan miles, I was able to put them into trips to like Italy and wherever else I actually wanted to go. So that was really cool, and that was a really fortunate space and time to be in, as well as I really did kind of like make that opportunity happen, that it wasn't something that they were just like, hey, here's a job, we're going to fly you to Vegas every month or every 3 weeks. It was more so that like, hey, I think I can fill a need, and I'm going to gamble this first job. I'm going to like just book the flights. My lead in is always like, hey, I'll just like be in the area anyways, so we might as well do it. And then not charge the customer for flights at the very beginning. And usually if you get that first job, that first proof of concept, they're going to be pretty happy to bring you back and to keep that going once you're in their like payroll system and everything. But it's definitely a little bit of a gamble, and I wasn't really in a place to be able to just like book that flight to Vegas. So maybe if you are looking at that, maybe book something that's refundable, or at least have another idea of what you can repurpose that flight towards to actually make money. I think there's also a huge thing to talk about as far as like just travel in general. So I like doing weddings because it gives me maximum time freedom. It's also like, it's a heck of a lot of fun. You're taking photos at people's parties. It's awesome. The pay is also very good as well because you are in a pretty high stress position. And if you position yourself correctly as a little bit more of a luxury brand rather than just like a volume discount brand, it does really, the clients that come in really do like and respect you, as well as like leading out there in the world and having your personality all over your website. So when people connect with you, they know whether or not they like you a lot. And if they like you a lot, they're probably going to book you. Or it could go the other way and they just really don't connect with your personality and they leave really quickly, which is great as well. But by connecting with those couples that you really like and that you really get along with, I think that's like even one level further of lifestyle design, where when you actually are working, you're working for the best clients in the best possible circumstances. And that doesn't happen overnight. That's that's been a work in progress over the past almost 15 years. And it's something that is 100% worth the journey, that if you are just like beginning your journey right now, it is something to look forward to, and to know that every year that you're going to have a lot more fun. And then at some point, one year, it's going to be like you're looking forward to every single wedding on your calendar, which is where I'm fortunate enough to be at now. So any wedding weekend, I'm never like, oh no, it's like wedding, I can't do anything on Saturday. I'm always the opposite. I don't know if I program my brain to do this or if it just kind of is me, that I really don't like actually going out and doing like regular life things on Saturdays. I would way rather be working. I don't want to go to the mall. I don't want to go to the grocery store. Everything's so busy. I would way rather be at a wedding and having fun there and creating images and creating work that people are genuinely excited about. So that kind of goes into, I guess, my spectrum of lifestyle design, and knowing that if I was working weddings, that means Saturdays I'm doing something. If I can book every single Saturday in a year, that is more than enough money for me to be able to do my personal projects and spend money on them. And then at some point, those personal projects will start generating money, and you figure out kind of the balance there, that the travel show makes money, and all kinds of different aspects. I probably have like, one day I'll count this might be a Patreon thing, but I'll count up all of the different ways that I'm currently making money in photography, or within kind of a reasonable spectrum or reasonable grounds of photography, and I'll add them up. But I feel like it's going to be like at least 12 or 13, maybe even close to 20 different methods of getting paid, from like doing things like promotional videos for companies to doing like shorts for restaurants now because of the food show, or creating the food show, as well as like speaking and all kinds of different things. So I'll add those up and put them on Patreon at some point in the future. So if I can give you one takeaway from today, it is to think about your ideal life and to figure out what that looks like as far as working. So take a step back, be like, if you want to travel, then set yourself up for a job that allows you maximum time flexibility. That might not mean that you can just instantly become a travel photographer and just start making lots of money in that specific niche. But if you're smart about it, there are lots of different niches in photography that you can use your skills and that kind of all feed into one and create this like surround sound effect of you being a great photographer. Because I know for sure that if I'm a wedding photographer and I'm out traveling and taking photos all around the world, that looks pretty good on my photography as a whole, not necessarily just like, oh, he's a travel photographer. That just looks good on everything. So that really kind of adds to, I guess, my personality. The other thing, if you are interested in traveling, is the more you can get out and do, the more you're going to start attracting the couples that like to travel, which means more opportunities for either engagement sessions like overseas or wherever, or actually travel weddings, destination weddings. That really is something that dawned on me pretty quickly, was that the more travel stuff that I show, the more that I'm going to be hired to go out and do that travel stuff. And I guess like the tricky thing with a lot of projects like that, whether it's a wedding or it's a commercial project that you have to fly to, is that you kind of have to prove that you can do it before you'll get hired for it over and over again. So if you can start making those opportunities happen, if you want to be creating travel content, go out and create travel content with whatever is kind of around your area. If you can create an amazing portfolio specifically highlighting just your city, and then you can shop that to all different cities, all different tourism boards, it's probably going to go pretty well for you. And if that's in your dream lifestyle, that's definitely a project worth doing and starting right now. So think about what you want your life to look like, and then kind of step back and piece in where you would actually want to work, what you actually want to do, and what actually makes you happy. Because at the end of the day, happiness is the most important thing. So thanks for listening today. I'm Taylor Jackson, and hopefully it gets sunny out today. We'll find out. If it doesn't, that's fine too. I hear the clouds and overcast is great for pictures. All right. Thanks for watching. You're not watching. This is back to the awkward outros. That's all. Awkward outro complete. Goodbye.